Oh no! Hey, I bought those myself. I'm allowed to drop them. In this video, we're gonna compare 7 different modern carbon handlebars back to back to back. And it was made possible by my friends over at Jensen USA. I've got links to all of these handlebars over at Jensen down in the description below. Anything you purchase from those links will directly help support my channel, so thanks in advance. And to install these handlebars, I used a really nifty torque wrench from my friends over at Pro, which is Shimano's component brand. I've got this Pro torque wrench also linked to down in the description. In the video, I tell you about which brands sent me handlebars no charge, which ones I purchased, yada yada. And I do have one individual sponsor, and that is Shimano. All right, without further ado, let's compare some handlebars. Hello everyone, we're up here at a world famous bike park, and today's goal is to try a bunch of different handlebars.
Is your bike sick? Does it have a case of upgrade-itis? Where seemingly the only solution can be buying some sweet new bling. Of all the parts you can do, from oil slick chainring bolts to fancy frame protection stickers to dice valve caps, the choices are endless. I want to put this out there, right in the intro, that you do not need new handlebars. Your money is better spent on good tires, or dialing in your frame's geometry, or your suspension. If you have seemingly everything else, then handlebars are a great final item to complete an otherwise perfect bicycle. If you do have issues with numb hands, I think solutions can be found from using different thickness grips, handlebar roll angles, different handlebar bends, or different gloves. I've had to deal with numb hands on occasion, and it sucks. But I found it's more of a combination of gloves, grips, and fit, more than it is the handlebar itself. I tend to notice arm pump and numb hands way more on faster trails with lots of braking bumps, so I'm going to focus this test on the fastest, most ridden, most braking bump trail in the Northern Hemisphere, A-Line. At the end of the season, meaning now, A-Line is an absolute wreck, with braking bumps large enough to swallow a Volkswagen.
Man, I do not want to open my hand. Oh.
I'm 175 pounds, which means I'm probably heavier than what most bike brands assume the average rider will be.
Let's go ride some bikes.
But I know for a fact the industry is extremely optimistic, and most male riders are probably around the US national average, around 200 pounds. Heavier riders, or riders who prefer even wider bars, will notice more compliance issues than I will. But I still noticed a bit between these options here. I enjoy handlebar widths between 760 and 770 millimeters, and the bars in this video are all cut within 10 mils of each other. As grips often have a difference of 5 millimeters of thickness at their end, the width range is a real-world acceptable thing. I tried to get all bars in 40 millimeters of rise, and most of the bars have 8 degrees of back sweep and 5 degrees of up sweep. Notable exceptions are PNW Components The Loam handlebar, which has a 10-degree back sweep, and the Santa Cruz Reserve bars, which don't have a published upsweep but are noticeably flatter than the rest. I've wanted to do this test since last summer. I asked Enve for some bars and they kindly obliged. My first run at Whistler Bike Park was with some Enve M7 downhill bars at 31.8, and these went well, about as normal as State Farm Jake.
Been riding these handlebars right here today, 31.8.
These bars felt better than my aluminum 31.8 bars at the time, so I was happy. But after a couple of runs, I threw on the M7 handlebar. Holy baloney, Batman, the M7 bars were hugely better than those M9. This one experiment absolutely turned me into a believer of 35 mil carbon bars, as they do have more compliance. When it comes to carbon bars, the larger 35 mil interface gives manufacturers more space to work with to create a more forgiving bar. I'm not going to focus on weight in this test, but I will say the heavier bars actually felt noticeably better on the trail. So are all handlebars created equal?
Oh, nope. Lap 1, my arms were fine. A little bit getting sore at some of the faster bits. I had wanted to do a big variety of trails, technical, jumpy, all the things. But now as I'm riding down, I'm realizing that the better trails for this are gonna be the more faster, jumpier trails, because that's where you really notice how comfortable things are.
Ah yes, the very first bar. This kind of reminds me of my 21st birthday. I actually had prior experience riding this very bike with this same handlebar at Whistler Bike Park earlier this summer.
All right, run 2, a classic. I'm hoping that this faster stuff is more beneficial.
I decided to keep this bar on the bike in order to begin the test with as few variables as possible. The Era bar is indeed very well made, and it's very comfortable. Just like half of American men, it comes pre-cut with a different compliance tune on the 760 option as compared to the 780 or 800 versions. Mine are 780, cut down to 770, and with a 40 mil rise. Just as they did back in early summer, the Era bars felt at home on A-Line's high speed and endless braking modes. When I first tested the bars, I didn't have much feedback other than, yeah, these are pretty good at the end of a couple of laps. After testing 7 bars, I have to say the RaceFace bars do compare directly to the most comfortable bars of the day. Something I did not notice until this test was over was that while the RaceFace bars are very compliant and comfortable, they don't really instill the most confidence. There is substantial flex in the control direction as well as in the up and down vibration direction. It's not terrible, but when going to other bars, it is something I noticed. Now, full disclosure, RaceFace gifted me these handlebars earlier this year when I attended their media event.
I can definitely feel some finger, hand, arm fatigue.
I subsequently and very intentionally installed them on my rigid enduro bike because they do indeed ride very nicely.
Which is normal, it's okay. I'm not harping. Okay, I gotta really try to clear that one. Okay, got a little bit of forearm pump though. All right, gonna swap on another set of handlebars. Next set of bars, Oneup E35. They got the flat profile, it's supposed to be all compliant. They're pretty decent. Same left grip, same right grip. Bars are cut to right about 760. Bar width is gonna vary by a couple millimeters, and that's just real life. Since we are here on YouTube and playing that game, scroll on down, hit that subscribe button. I post videos about once a week or so. Just about all of them are related to mountain biking. If it's not related to mountain biking, like if it's dirt biking or something, then it'll be done for a mountain bikey audience. These videos are fun and I couldn't do it without all of you here, so thank you.
Enter the Oneup E35 bar. E not just because it's the best vowel, but because there's a small hole in the bars to allow for e-bike controls. But that's a minor detail in the story of the E35 bar. These have a very unique shaping with the outside of the bar being extremely ovalized. Clearly, it's intended that in the side-to-side control and turning direction, the goal is max stiffness, but in the vertical plane, quite a bit of forgiveness is present. I was dreaming about this very handlebar shape back in 2016, and even consulted with the bike brand about having them made, but that was way too big of a project that I could ever swallow.
All right, here we go. Oneup bars, A-line again.
Oneup was nice enough to send me a gifted box of bike parts last year, which included these handlebars. I've installed them on several bikes since, and I've always appreciated them.
These bars feel nice. Let's get into some real bumps. Oh yeah, these things are nice. These are cool.
Out of all the bars here, the Oneup most surprised me. These bars were similarly plush to RaceFace in the bomb holes, but I definitely had more confidence on takeoffs and when pumping through the berms. This makes me think that their marketing claims of vertical compliance yet lateral rigidity do indeed have some truth behind them. Is it a night and day difference compared to RaceFace? No, it's not, but there is a subtle difference that I certainly appreciated. Nice. It does take me a bit to find the right bar roll angle with the Oneup, as the weird shaping can visually throw me off. But at the end of the test, these were among the most comfortable handlebars I used.
Okay, so I got some fatigue going, but it's not terrible. This section gets a little fast and shattery. Let's see how they do.
They were also tied with PNW components as the lowest priced handlebar. PNW is also very comfortable and has significantly more back sweep. Ultimately, I preferred the bend of the PNW a little bit more and hope to one day do a final showdown between PNW and Oneup. Maybe even including Enve too, as I felt the comfort of all these options were among the best in the test.
Maybe I can actually clear this jump for once. All right, come on, clear it, clear it, clear it. Whew. Oh, first time. Back at it, second run with the Oneup. I was surprised at how nice these bars were on the first run. So the feeling of these bars is almost more confidence than the RaceFace. Ew. Wow, the review of the Oneup bars, very positive. Very, very positive. The Oneup bars felt about as comfortable as RaceFace, possibly more. They were right in the same ballpark. They were good. I felt more confident with the Oneup, so I think the fancy shaping might have something to it, some directionality to it, to make up a little bit better steering characteristics. Now, nothing on A-line is really all that, you know, challenging handlebar turn-wise, but those are also big jumps, big impacts, big turns, lots of braking bumps. I also don't really steer bicycles, I lean them, so there's that. All right, get these things off. And then right here we have Santa Cruz Reserve 35 mil rise. Boom. Santa Cruz Reserve 35 bars. Let's go shred. And I hated this handlebar when I was riding the high tower with it. Could have been height, but I think it was more the stiffness.
The Santa Cruz Reserve 35 bar comes stock on the Santa Cruz High Tower, a loaner bike that I've had in for testing.
You can definitely feel it's a burlier bar. It is stiffer.
To be perfectly clear, I absolutely hated this handlebar on both the high towers and came into the test thinking these bars would be hugely worse than the aftermarket options. I made both high towers more comfy by installing the Renthal FatBars and some ODI grips. I was a lot happier with that cockpit than with the stock reserve bars, but I don't know how much of the improvement is due to the bar versus the grips, as I changed both at the same time. This test will spill the proverbial beans on bars versus grips. I dropped into A-line thinking I would feel an immediate stinging in my hands like I head back home.
Oh, I can feel kind of the edge of every bump, but it's not as bad as I thought it would be.
Turns out, it wasn't quite as bad as I thought it would be. As I got further down the hill, I definitely had more hand and finger fatigue, as well as more forearm pump than I had with either RaceFace or Oneup, but it wasn't nearly as bad as I remember them being. My suspicion is that the thin little Santa Cruz grips just don't work for me.
Okay, I got some arm pump going, and the forearms like I'm riding a dirt bike. The worst so far.
So take this little bit of advice. If your bike isn't feeling comfortable, try new grips before you get new handlebars. It's also worth mentioning that the bar's upsweep is much less than any else in the test. Santa Cruz does not publish a number for the upsweep. All the other brands are 5 degrees, which feels great, and Enve is 4 degrees, which also feels great. While Santa Cruz does not publish that number, the bars still do have a very small amount of upsweep, but indeed it's quite minimal. I have a hunch that this is a factor of why I dislike these bars so much.
Mountain biking's not perfect, and that's why it's perfect, but conditions have changed, clouds have blown in. It's gonna be a little bit harder to see this lap. We're gonna take it mellow because it's the end of the day. We're on the Reserve 35 bars. First run, better than expected. Not as good as the Oneups or the RaceFace, but not as bad as I thought.
After 2 full laps on A-line, I realized with my ODI grips on the Santa Cruz bars, they were certainly not as comfortable as Oneup or even RaceFace, but they were still very much acceptable. For what the bars lacked in subtle compliance, they make up for in control stiffness, and I had zero vagueness in the steering. These were certainly more bomber than some other options when it comes to that department. If you already have these handlebars on your bike, try grips or tires or even cush core before swapping them off. I did a total of 4 runs with the Santa Cruz bars, 2 at the end of the first day and 2 more to warm up and begin the second day.
Gonna have the sorest fingers and arms up here out of all the runs, I can already tell. Wow, that was a pretty interesting day. So I got in 6 comparison laps, 2 laps per handlebar amongst 3 handlebars, 2 test laps on the RaceFace Era Carbon, 2 test laps on the Oneup E35 Carbon, 2 test laps in the Santa Cruz Reserve E35. I'm gonna do a few more laps tomorrow and we'll do more comparisons. Good morning everyone, day 2, back at it, more testing. Gonna start off with the Santa Cruz Reserve bars because that was the last pair I rode yesterday. And then we're gonna start swapping in other handlebars once we're warmed up, dialed in, and feeling good. All right, back to testing. Howdy. Let's be cognizant of the dangers of bicycling. Case. Some people choose to backflip this. I choose not to. Woo! Let's go put something more comfortable on. Santa Cruz Reserve 35's off, and we're going to Salsa Guides. Salsa is the house brand of QBP, the largest distributor in the US for bikes. QBP does not sell consumer direct, but they do own Salsa. Okay, let's go do a few laps.
The Salsa Guide 40. With less of a marketing budget, the Salsa Guide 40 is a bit of a dark horse. I bought these on my own at some discounted pricing, mostly due to the 40 mil rise, but I was just also plain old curious. Salsa was such a cool aftermarket brand during the 90s, and today, they're mostly known as a house brand for QBP. Would Salsa's offering actually compete with all the cool kids?
Gotta watch out, I saw a bear hanging out earlier and I didn't see it in the open, so it could be here. Don't want to hit that bear.
I ran these bars on a couple of bikes thus far in 2024, and I've certainly enjoyed them on the trail. With their standard sweep measurements, there isn't much of interest to report until you actually hit the trail. As I dropped into yet more A-line runs, the Salsa Guide bars felt more comfy than the Santa Cruz Reserve 35s, but still less comfy than the best performers. Oneup, Enve, and RaceFace were still all a bit softer on the hands. Not a huge amount so, but there was a subtle difference.
Confidence is decent with these bars. Gonna start getting bumpy here.
The Salsa Guide compliance was comparable to the Renthal FatBar, but steering precision wasn't quite as confident for Salsa. The Guide is a fine handlebar, but I don't see much of a reason to buy the Guide over any of the other options here.
Wow, I thought these would be better than they are. Let me know why you're watching this video. Does your bike already have carbon bars on it? Does it not? Are you shopping for new bars? Let me know in the comments why you're watching this video. Yeah, arm pump was meh, but fingers definitely were cramping the most with this setup than any of the prior. Now, from my seat of the pants in the past, I was expecting these to be more comfortable than the Santa Cruz Reserve, and they were similar. Maybe slightly better arm pump wise, but slightly worse finger wise. I don't know what that means. It's just what I feel. Next up, Enve M7. This is the set of handlebars I put on last year that felt really, really, really good. This had me stoked on the idea of 35 mil bars. All right, 35 Newton meters. 10 miles already today, wow. All right, 11:26. First run with the Enve M7s. Formerly my favorite bars. We'll see how they do.
Enve M7. These are the original bars that got me stoked on 35 mil carbon trail handlebars in the first place. Enve was cool enough to supply these bars at no charge, so big thanks to Enve.
It's already a different feel than the Salsa bars. I like them. Wow.
Due to the traditional round shaping of the M7, I did not expect the Enve bars to feel anywhere as good as they actually did. The level of comfort was similar to the RaceFace Era, and at times better. However, what I wasn't expecting was that the level of steering control was significantly better than RaceFace. I'm very surprised that the Oneup bars feel so similar, yet look so incredibly different. Oneup is visually so different from Enve, but the feel on the trail is so close. I'd be happy with either option, though I do prefer the 40 mil rise of the Enve over the 35 mil rise of the Oneup. My hunch is that the Oneup bars are slightly more comfy, with slightly more confidence inspiring than the Enve bars, but the difference is so close that I would absolutely take either. Visually, the Enve bars look more traditional. Big kudos to Enve for such a well-made handlebar.
Yeah, fingers are not feeling it through that turn. Ew. So the Enve bars worked really well. Those were on par with Oneup. Definitely best bars of today. I didn't get really arm pump, but my fingers and hands are sore, tired, kind of achy. Don't know if that's from the grips, the handlebars, or just normal fatigue with doing 40 miles of A-line in one 24-hour stint. Off with the Enves, on with the Renthal FatBar. 5, 5, 5, 5. Go to 3 for the brake levers. That's 3. Okay, cyclometer, and we go ride.
The Renthal FatBar 35. The Renthal FatBar 35 has felt great on 3 different mountain bikes thus far in 2024. I bought these bars myself, though at some discounted industry pricing. Seeing Renthal bars on so many famous athletes' bikes, both on moto and mountain bike, and I was just curious how well they'd actually feel. The 40 mil rise is a total home run. I'm on the higher end of the size medium bike spectrum, and often I like the feel of 40 mil bars on today's short head tubes.
So how is the FatBar? It is okay. Plenty of stiffness. Be confidence inspiring up there.
On the Ibis Ripley, and especially on the older Santa Cruz Hightower, the Renthal bars were exactly what I needed to have a good cockpit position. The bend of the Renthal has a degree less back sweep than most other brands. While that's a talking point in a video like this, I think it's still enough sweep that anyone would adapt to it pretty quickly. Though I will say, when I first get on the Renthal bars, the less sweep does feel more aggressive, and it inspires me to pretend I'm Jet Lawrence for a minute.
I would say these are not quite as comfortable as the Enves. Probably even a tad firmer than the RaceFace Eras, but acceptable.
In terms of minimizing vibration and adding compliance, I could tell that Renthal was not as comfy as the top 3 performers, but certainly not bad. These were definitely more comfortable than the Santa Cruz bars. The steering precision was very good, and coupled with less sweep, the Renthal bars were the most aggressive and inspiring bars in the test.
Fast swap. So the Renthals were not as comfortable as what I remember the RaceFace or the Oneup. The Renthals might have been slightly better than the Salsa Guide Bar. Not a different world. If you already have Salsa Guide Bars, I would not recommend buying Renthals as an upgrade. Okay, next up, PNW The Loam handlebar, 5 Newton meters. Thank you, Shimano, for your torque wrench. We're looking at 23 miles already today, counting the chairlift.
PNW Components The Loam. PNW's awkwardly named The Loam handlebar was the surprise of this test.
This bend feels a little sweepier. I like it. a little more relaxed.
PNW used to sponsor me, and when their sales slowed a few years back, they chose to not renew our arrangement. That said, I still use their parts often and frequently recommend them to friends who need new bits. When I asked, PNW was cool enough to give me these bars, so thanks to them for that.
I've ridden PNW bars off and on since like 2017 or 18 or something. I met their founder, Aaron, racing like 20 years ago. When I started doing a lot of YouTube, they came on as an early sponsor. Big thanks to them.
The most immediately noticeable aspect of the Loam bar was that extra back sweep. The other bars are mostly 8 degrees, whereas these are a full 10. The more relaxed sweep created a very comfortable posture and hands down had the most unique feel. For me, this was also the most comfortable bar bench for my body type, my bike setup, and my riding style.
My fingers, I can feel I've been riding all day, but they're a little less achy than they were at the Renthal's last run.
Comfort in the washboard, the braking bumps and the holes was surprisingly good. Maybe slightly less forgiveness than Oneup or Enve, but on par with RaceFace Era and better than Salsa, Renthal, or Santa Cruz. Confidence when steering and controlling the bike was also fantastic, but that bend just feels great. I wish the other brands would offer a bit more back sweep as well.
I think the Apple Watch hurts more than anything else right now. Okay, I can feel some fatigue in the old hands and arms. But these are on par with the best ones of the day. That's a bit of a surprise. Ew. My fingers are feeling it. But the arm pump with these PNW bars, not a bad deal. That's pretty cool. These are pretty comfy.
Let's wrap this up with a take hotter than sriracha sauce. After riding all these different bars, I feel there is little reason beyond fit or upgrade-itis to switch from one carbon handlebar to another. If your bike already has even a pretty rigid set of 35mm carbon bars, if you're looking for more comfort, you'd honestly be better served by considering an insert in that front wheel, switching to a more durable tire that can be used with less pressure, or simply by trying different grips. Suspension upgrades also help a lot, but remember, the newest forks need a good 10 to 12 hours of hard trail riding before they break in and open up. I'm really stoked on the new Fox Grip X units, but they definitely do take a while to break in. There are certainly some aluminum 31.8 bars that are far cheaper and also ride very well. The aluminum bars are stronger, less sensitive to dumb accidents or teenage antics. Weight is very close, less than 100 grams or a quarter-pound difference between 31.8 aluminum and 35mm carbon. Cost is roughly $100 more for carbon. So is it worth it? Well, at the end of the day, it's not about what bars are on your bike. It's about getting out and riding your bike. So please proceed accordingly. Perhaps plan an extra riding trip in rather than splurging on bars. Or just get the bars. Life is short. And if you do decide to enjoy your short life to the fullest, please do so via my links below. Sorry, not sorry. And definitely, thanks again for your support.